Mona sits within the Australian art world as a unique voice, an individual voice. Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art, is a private museum. It's owned by one individual, David Walsh. It is a collection of antiquity and contemporary art. We're the similar size to the Gallery of Modern Art in Brisbane. We are the largest privately owned museum or gallery in all of Australia. It's a site for experimenting with ideas and to push boundaries. The idea of placing old and new artworks and objects together in a non-chronological way is not seen a great deal, not only within Australia but internationally. A non-chronological display is pretty much how David Walsh thinks about art and thinks about humanity and why people do things. There is not the idea of the modern man versus the ancient man. He feels that the emotions and the reasons that people do things come from very base, primitive drives, and art making is one of those innate primitive drives. Probably the best example of the old and new art sitting side by side is in what we refer to as the portrait gallery. In this space, we show ancient Syracusan coins next to contemporary sculptures, paintings, video works, and it displays portraiture as an enduring theme across many thousands of years. Visitors come and start making links between objects of their own accord and learn something about an object that maybe they wouldn't have looked at twice, say a very modest Egyptian alabaster vase, that they don't just view it as some old pot, that it is actually this beautiful object that was very thoughtfully crafted. David's brief to the architect Nonda Katsoulides was he wanted something that didn't reveal itself overtly, that wasn't monumental by towering over the visitors when they first arrive. The museum doesn't appear to reveal itself above ground, but you walk down a staircase and it is unveiled in front of you. David and Nonda had a ball planning this and ways to subvert architecture.
People enter down through the original roundhouse building, which is a Roy Grounds building. It's a heritage listed building, so we've had to be careful to retain a lot of the original features of that building. It's just been pretty well undermined and re-engineered to hold sections of it up. And what we're standing in is the very bottom floor of the museum, where we're probably something like 18 metres down underground underneath the original building. The architecture did respond to some of the larger pieces. We have Sydney Nolan Snake, which is a very large work that had to have its own gallery space designed for it. There's a piece called Bitfall by Julius Pop, which is a waterfall piece that is specifically designed to go in a particular place.
The work you can see behind me is by Anselm Kiefer, the German artist. It is a lead and steel and glass sculpture that comprises of 160 lead books. It weighs over 20 tonne and sits here in its own gallery space off from the main museum.
The challenges are mainly that antiquities are very small, fragile exhibits that really need a presence in juxtaposition to very strong contemporary artwork. So I guess it was my challenge to find a way of exhibiting them in a way that gave them an equal voice. We've subverted that idea of presenting contemporary art on white walls. What's allowed us to do that too is Mona doesn't have any visible labels with their contemporary artworks or antiquities. All that is delivered on a device that people carry with them. It locates their position and gives them whatever information that they'd like to gain on that particular work.
We're just installing a new work by Shiharu Shiota, who is a Japanese artist that's based in Berlin. It's an amazing work, very visceral, a wedding dress that has simulated blood pumping out of the dress and through vials and tubes on the floor.
The mummy gallery is, I guess, essentially a tomb, so the design response, I guess, is trying to create that feeling of a tomb, a very quiet, contemplative space. My design approach was to fill the gallery with water. To get to the exhibit, you cross over the water on stepping stones to a central exhibit in the middle of the water, which is a bit of a dangerous journey, and it really does focus people's minds on where they're going. The gallery also houses a photograph by Serrano of a morgue, which is a very recent photograph of the dead, and it's about how we perceive death. We don't regard ancient death as something confronting, whereas recent death is a lot more confronting. I think people enjoy the random way that the artwork has been set up. They aren't taken on any sort of linear journey. They're able to just explore at their own desire. That makes it a very flexible and very relaxed sort of environment to experience art.